My name is Aubrey Thorne, and the first time I ever boarded a flight alone, I didn't tell a soul where I was going. Not my mother, not my sister, not even the roommate I'd quietly moved away from a year earlier. I sat in the corner of Gate 47 with a paperback I wouldn't end up reading, and a coffee I didn't really want. Just something to hold while I waited for freedom to finally call my name. It was supposed to be a family vacation. A gift, they said. One I didn't ask for. One I never wanted. I remember standing at the check-in counter that morning, pretending to feel a stomach cramp as I told them to go ahead without me. "I'll catch up at the gate," I smiled. My sister Carla nodded, already busy wrangling luggage and lecturing her twins about not fighting at TSA. My mother gave me the usual tight look, half worry, half disapproval. I turned away, calm on the outside, my heart thudding like I was committing a crime. I wasn't, not really. I was just choosing myself. For once. 10 minutes later, I was boarding a flight in the opposite terminal. A one-way ticket I'd bought with tip money from the cafe. To a coastal town no one in my family had ever heard of. And as the plane ascended, I turned off my phone and leaned back into my seat, alone, unbothered, and finally, unclaimed. They'd say I ruined their vacation. I'd say I reclaimed my life. I was the second daughter. That alone determined my place in the house. My sister Carla was 6 years older, and from the day I was born, it was clear she'd already taken up all the space a daughter could occupy. Her baby photos covered every wall. Her trophies sat untouched on the mantel. When she got braces, it was a family milestone. When I needed glasses, Mom said, "Let's wait until next year's insurance reset." It wasn't cruelty. It was something colder, habit. An entire family built around one person's orbit. Carla got the birthday parties with themes and catered cupcakes. I got whatever was on sale at the grocery store. When she wanted piano lessons, they found a neighbor who taught for free. When I wanted to join soccer, Mom said, "It's not really your thing, honey." I believed her. It was easier than asking twice. By the time I was in high school, Carla was long gone, married to a man who sold insurance and smiled through his teeth. My parents called him a provider. I never liked the word. It sounded like something you'd say about a faucet or a feed trough. Carla had twins a year after the wedding. 2 identical boys who became the new stars of our family. They weren't just grandchildren. They were miracles. They had colic and ear infections and destroyed every coffee table in their path. But my parents called them pure joy. And I became useful. The first time Carla dropped them off without asking, I was 19. I had just come home from a shift at the cafe, my feet blistered, and my uniform still stained with someone's spilled latte. She didn't knock, just walked in, handed me a bag of diapers, and said, "You'll be fine. They've already eaten." Probably. Then she left, and no one thought to question it. From there, it became routine. Every Saturday, every Sunday, sometimes weeknights too, if Jack had a business dinner, and Carla was just exhausted. I stopped making plans. People I knew in college would invite me out, and I'd say, maybe, knowing I wouldn't go. I didn't even explain why anymore. My parents said I was being dramatic. "It's just helping out," my mom insisted. "You're good with them, and it's family." Family. The most weaponized word I've ever known. I tried once, just once, to push back. It was finals week. I had 2 papers due, an exam the next day, and an overnight shift at the cafe. Carla dropped the boys off anyway, cheerfully unaware. They ran through the apartment, knocked over my study lamp, and shattered my last coffee mug. When I told my mom it was too much, that I was drowning, she sighed like I disappointed her on a cellular level. "You're not a mother, Aubrey. You don't understand. Carla's doing her best. She needs support." "And I don't?" I asked. She didn't answer. That night, while I mopped up spilled applesauce from the carpet and listened to one of the twins scream over a lost Lego piece, I made a decision. Not a big one, not yet. Just a quiet internal shift, a knowing. This was never going to change, unless I changed it. I started saving money, not for anything big. I wasn't dreaming of escape yet, just a weekend. A single weekend where I wouldn't be needed, summoned, or guilted into service. I didn't tell anyone. I just worked more shifts, skipped the expensive coffee, and slid $5 bills into a manila envelope tucked under my mattress. It took 9 months to save enough for 3 nights at a modest coastal motel. No pool, no spa. But it was steps from the beach and had a little cafe that served breakfast all day. That was enough for me. I remember the night I told my parents I'd booked it. My voice was light, careful, testing the water. It's nothing fancy, just a little break. I need to clear my head. To my shock, they smiled. That's wonderful, honey, Mom said. You deserve some rest. Dad even patted my shoulder. Good for you, kiddo. I should have known. When something feels too easy in my family, it usually means someone else has already laid claim to it. The bus ride to the coast was 6 hours. I watched the city disappear in fragments. Freeways, car dealerships, rows of stucco houses, and finally, open sky. When I arrived, the motel was exactly what I expected. A little dated, but clean. The front desk clerk handed me a metal key with a plastic tag and said, "Ocean view if you sit on the windowsill and lean left." I smiled for real that day. I hadn't done that in a while. That afternoon, I walked barefoot along the water until the sun started turning everything gold. I ate dinner alone, crab cakes and iced tea, extra lemon, at a cafe with faded umbrellas and seagulls that didn't know boundaries. I tipped well. I stayed until it got dark, just because I could. No crying children, no dinner to cook, no voices calling my name. When I returned to the motel and unlocked my room, I felt something tighten in my chest, something between disbelief and hope. Maybe I'd finally carved out something for myself. And then I heard them. "Aubrey!" My mother's voice, too bright, too staged. "Surprise!" I froze. Standing in front of the room next to mine, dressed in a floral blouse she wore to every church event, was my mom. Behind her stood Carla, holding a beach tote with her usual mix of drama and delight. The twins were already barefoot, covered in fruit juice, and screaming something about seashells. "What? What are you doing here?" I asked, my words already wilting. "We couldn't let you be alone on your big trip," Mom chirped. "So we booked last minute. Luckily, they had a suite right next door." Of course they did. I looked at their bags, designer luggage, the nicer room. Probably booked under Carla's husband's card. He never came to these things, of course. He only made it possible. Before I could say anything, Carla leaned down, kissed one of the twins on the forehead, and turned to me with a practiced grin. "Do you mind watching them for a bit? Just a short walk. I haven't had time to breathe in weeks. And I need to grab sunscreen," Mom added. "Back in a few." She wasn't. Neither of them were. They disappeared down the path toward the beach, laughing. The twins barreled past me into my small, tidy motel room, already turning the bedspread into a jungle gym. What followed was 2 days of slow erosion. My peaceful weekend dissolved into chaos. Curtain rods snapped, a juice box exploded in my suitcase, and someone tried to flush a bar of soap shaped like a dolphin. Spoiler, it didn't go well. The motel staff knocked on my door Sunday morning with a polite but pointed expression. "Ma'am, there's been some damage. We'll need to assess a cleaning fee." The envelope they handed me had the number written in pen, $230. More than I'd budgeted for the entire weekend. I paid in silence. I didn't bother asking my family to split it. I already knew the answer. On Sunday night, Carla had the audacity to say she was exhausted from all the traveling. I said nothing. Not then. I packed my bag quietly, while the twins screamed over who got the red plastic shovel. My mother scrolled through photos on her phone, probably picking which ones to post with a caption like, "Family time is the best time." The drive back felt longer than the ride there. I sat in the back seat of Carla's SUV, wedged between sippy cups and a half-deflated beach ball, watching raindrops smear the window. When we got home, I walked straight to my room, shut the door, and sat on the floor. I stared at the wall for an hour. No tears, no anger. Just an emptiness so complete, it felt like silence inside my own body. That night, I didn't sleep. And in the morning, I started packing again. This time, not for the beach. I didn't say a word at breakfast, Mom made eggs. Carla was already complaining about the laundry she'd have to catch up on. The twins were fighting over cereal colors. It was all so loud, so normal, like nothing had happened, like I hadn't been hijacked on my own vacation. I waited until the table quieted, just slightly. Then I said it. "I'm moving out." The room didn't freeze. It snapped. Mom dropped her fork. Carla's mouth hung open like a bad sitcom. Dad finally looked up from the sports section, squinting like he hadn't heard right. "What did you say?" he asked, already defensive. "I'm leaving," I repeated. "I found a room near campus. I signed the lease last night. I move next week." Carla was the first to react. "But who's going to help with the boys?" That told me everything. Not "we'll miss you," not "is it safe" or "do you need help?" Just, who will fill the gap we've carved into you? Mom recovered next. "After everything we've done for you? This is how you repay us?" I almost laughed. "Everything you've done for me? Like crashing my weekend and leaving me with a $230 motel bill?" Dad's voice cut in, sharper now. "Watch your tone." I stood up, calm but firm. "No, you watch your expectations. Carla has a husband. If she needs a break, they can hire help. I am not your fallback plan." Carla looked like she might cry. "You make it sound like we've used you." "You did." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was surgical, a clean severing of something long overdue. "I still haven't finished paying your tuition," Dad said tightly. "I'll figure it out. And don't expect to come crawling back when it gets hard," Mom added. I nodded once. "I won't." By the end of the week, I had 2 suitcases packed and a key to a room I'd never seen before. Carla showed up the day I left, the twins in the back seat. She didn't get out of the car, just stared through the windshield like I was walking away from something sacred. Maybe I was. Or maybe I was walking towards something for the first time. 2 years passed. I didn't vanish, but I made myself scarce. A few birthday texts, a polite check-in call every other month. I worked nights at a rehab center while finishing my nursing degree. Shared a cramped apartment with another student, and built a life out of borrowed furniture and quiet. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. When I graduated, I didn't expect anyone to come. I still reserved 2 seats, out of habit, maybe hope. They stayed empty. I got a job 3 weeks later, a small community clinic with peeling paint and real patients. I worked double shifts and saved up for my own place, a studio on the 2nd floor of a building that smelled like old carpet and cheap takeout. But the window caught the morning sun, and that was enough. Then came my 25th birthday. Carla called first. "We're doing something special this year," she said, overly bright. "You'll want to be there." I shouldn't have gone, but part of me was curious. Just enough to say yes. The house looked the same. My seat at the table had been overtaken by crayon drawings and baby wipes. I smiled through the greetings, accepted the hugs, and waited. After dinner, Mom handed me an envelope with a flourish. "This is from all of us." Inside was a plane ticket. "To Clearwater Beach," Dad added. "A family vacation. All expenses paid." Carla beamed. "The boys are so excited. They've been talking about building sandcastles with you for weeks." I looked at the ticket, then at her. And I knew. It wasn't a gift. It was an assignment. Mom leaned in, voice low but sharp. "Don't make a scene. Not tonight." So I smiled, said thank you, and excused myself to the bathroom, where I sat on the edge of the tub and stared at the tile for 10 full minutes. They thought they'd won, that I'd learned my lesson. They had no idea what I was planning. The airport was busy the morning of the flight, full of families wrangling strollers and half-zipped bags. Carla wore matching sun hats with the twins, already narrating plans for the week. "Aubrey, we'll need you to take them to the tide pools on Tuesday," she said. "Wednesday's dolphin tour. Oh, and don't forget the sunscreen. They burn so fast." I smiled and nodded. The closer we got to the gate, the lighter I felt. Then, at the last security checkpoint, I put my hand on my stomach and winced. "I think I need to stop by the restroom," I said softly. "You guys go ahead. I'll meet you at the gate." They barely looked back. I turned, walked slowly toward the nearest hallway, then pivoted hard left toward another terminal. 10 minutes later, I was checking in for a different flight entirely. A quiet island off the coast of Oregon. I'd booked the ticket 3 weeks earlier, the same night I got the gift envelope. The woman at the desk looked up and smiled. "First solo trip?" I nodded. "First real one." On the plane, I turned my phone off before takeoff. Not airplane mode, completely off. I didn't want to hear the chaos unfolding at Gate 19. By the time the wheels left the tarmac, I had a glass of champagne in my hand and the kind of silence you can only earn. Later, I turned my phone back on just long enough to send one message. "I'm not coming. Enjoy your vacation." Then I shut it off again. The week that followed was the best I've ever had. I swam alone, read in the sun, took a watercolor class from a woman named Helen who wore denim overalls and smelled like lavender. I ate breakfast at a cafe where the waitress learned my name by day 2. I slept with the windows open and let the ocean breeze wake me up. No crying, no calls, no obligations, just me. And the sound of waves. They found me 3 days after I got back. A sharp knock at the door, too forceful to be friendly. I opened it to find Mom and Carla on my doorstep, both flushed with heat and rage. Carla's eyeliner was smudged. Mom held her purse like a weapon. "You think this is funny?" Carla shouted before I could say a word. "You humiliated us." "You abandoned your family," Mom added, stepping inside without asking. "The boys cried the whole first night. Your sister was stuck handling everything." I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. I just let them talk. How I ruined everything. How I owed them for the flight. How selfish I'd become. How I'd broken Carla's heart. How Mom had to cancel her massage. How dare I? When they paused to breathe, I finally spoke. "I don't owe you anything." Carla's mouth fell open again. "I didn't ask for the ticket. I didn't agree to babysit. And I certainly didn't sign up to be your escape plan." Mom's voice dropped into that dangerous register, the one meant to guilt me into submission. "We're family, Aubrey. And family doesn't mean servitude." I crossed my arms, calm, steady. "If you want to talk to me like an adult, with respect, my door's open. If not, leave." They stood there, stunned. Then, with one last glare, Carla turned and walked out. Mom followed, but not before saying, "You've changed." I nodded. "Yes, I have." And then I shut the door behind them, softly. For the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I moved 2 weeks later. A small apartment, quiet, sunlit, mine. No toys in the hallway, no late-night knocks, no guilt simmering beneath every conversation. I didn't leave a forwarding address. I just left. The first few days felt surreal. I ate what I wanted, when I wanted. I walked without explanation, slept without interruption, and didn't flinch when the phone buzzed. I stopped picking up. Not out of anger, but peace. I filled the space with small things. A thrifted lamp, a plant I didn't name, silence. I painted again, badly, joyfully. I learned to do nothing without apologizing for it. The calls kept coming. Carla, Mom. A few texts from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. They all said the same thing. "Come back. Let's talk. Don't be like this." But I didn't ruin anything. I just stepped out of a role I never auditioned for. Maybe one day I'll call them. Maybe one day they'll understand. But I no longer measure my peace by their approval. I no longer exist to absorb the weight they refuse to carry. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm just done. Done performing. Done explaining. Done pretending that love looks like sacrifice without boundaries. I didn't ruin their vacation. I simply chose to start mine.